Streamline your business with Javis Tax Services Payroll Services. We offer hassle-free payroll and direct deposit services for companies of all sizes. Our experts ensure that every detail is handled from setup to reporting. At Javis Tax Service, our cost-effective payroll solutions allow you to put your focus back on running your company. Call us today for a consultation and learn more about our payroll services. Call Javis Tax Service at 851-7112. That's 851-7112.
Facebook Live, what's going on, man?
Yeah.
Feels like a while, man.
I know, it does.
What it do?
This is going to be fun. We got the honorable brother, the honorable Antoine C. right in the house, you know.
I'm telling you.
This is about to be a good show. Whenever you see this brother walk in the room, just know. Just know.
I got
It's going to
crunk.
be good.
I bet you won't get crunk. I bet you won't get.
Say what?
Big. Stupid.
Every time.
That's what I'm talking about.
Every time. I'm like, if you don't like your toes being stepped on,
This gonna be a good one.
just know.
Wear some steel
I
toes
mean,
somewhere else.
obviously, Trump was trying to help us out, get us ready, give us some good content for Freethinkers Radio. Obviously, he knew the show was coming. Let me make sure they
They
got enough to work with over there.
He had to get his content.
He had to give us some content. I told y'all that though when he got elected. Didn't I say that? I said, "Yo, all good comedy coming back."
Oh,
Remember
He
that?
did say that.
you did.
Yeah,
say
bro.
that.
He said comedians about to have a whole lot to say, and musicians are about to
That's so
have a
sad.
whole lot of good music made.
A whole lot of good music.
It's so sad.
He said it.
Okay. All right. Hey, y'all ready? Y'all ready to do this?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We here now.
Turn up.
Yeah. Hey. Hey.
That's what I'm talking about, Ice.
Say what? What, Ice?
Yeah. Ice knew what time it was. No slow music on this one, baby. That's what I'm talking about. We're doing this one for the culture. Shouts out. Freethinkers Radio. If y'all don't know, this is show 70.
70.
And that's a lot.
We in there.
Right? That's a lot.
Applause is necessary.
Floyd only won 50 fights. You know what I mean?
Still
We on
undefeated.
70.
We still undefeated.
Still undefeated. And still. Y'all know what time it is. This is show 70, Pardon the Nazis. And for this one, there's only one proper participant in such a conversation, and that would be the Honorable Swansea's greatest, Antoine. How you doing, man?
Glad to be here.
Also, we got the crew. What's good? Who in there?
Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Jay Will, man. Always having fun.
Good evening, everybody. It's JB Sampson.
Yes, sir.
We're about to turn up a little too much in here, but it's all right.
Pardon my swastika. We doing this.
Oh, man. Dave, you said it yourself. Comedy is definitely making a comeback, and we're about to witness it. This is The Comeback by Danny Gokin.
Yeah.
Yes. Yo,
That's it?
when we was introducing Antoine, I was gonna be like, in this corner,
Oh.
standing at 5'6".
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, that was a comfort. That was a comfort. That was a comfort. Oh, boy. See?
Just because you taller than folk don't mean you
You
got
feel at home when you come to Freethinkers.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like cutting them. You see how that works? Goodness gracious.
Down the road.
Oh, absolutely. You from Swansea, you know. We from down the woods somewhere.
Oh yeah, y'all do have that connection. don't you?
Dirt road.
And
Exactly.
you know Jay Will proud of it too.
Exactly.
He'll tell you.
He did brag about, he bragged about the fact that they bury their meat in the ground and barbecue it, and then like dig it out and eat it. That was something to brag about.
He will proudly
Dog,
tell
that is
you.
some of the best.
That's called common practice.
It's called.
Common wear.
Wow, dude.
That's-
I'm just saying, you go dig you up some food. I thought that was just something we used to say.
Hey, Jay will tell you
In a heartbeat.
multiple times a day, proudly, that he is from East Oak.
That's right. Standing strong, homie.
I
Like,
live down in
he will
Little
let
Richard
you-
now.
Boom.
That's
He will remind you.
That's
at
right.
Any moment necessary.
Because you can never forget where you come from.
That's
real.
That's real though.
That's real.
Especially when they just got their first library in the past 10 years. They just got a library. We doing good right now. We
Got a library
we
out
got
there?
Wi-Fi now, baby.
And Wi-Fi.
Every generation
We
getting
got
better.
Wi-Fi.
Exactly.
That's what I'm talking about. What?
They just got Wi-Fi.
And this praise is for Wi-Fi. And this praise.
It's a better way to connect with Jesus.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
We're back.
And we back. We back. Like we say, you can't forget where you came from. Can't forget where you came from. And we are from the great nation, the United States of America.
United.
Hey,
United.
United. That's what they call us.
Okay.
That's what they call us.
Okay.
They also call.
That's what we're striving to be.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Working towards being a more perfect union.
That's it. Working towards. I don't know if any president before us would have started out like how we about to start out this show with pardoning racists. I mean, like, here's the crazy thing about it. It's like as a black person, I don't even know how to feel though, because like he wasn't discriminating against us, right? It was like some kind of Mexican thing.
No.
That's what I was trying to. Immigration.
You should feel some kind of way, because the same way people like the President Trump and some of his racist right-wing supporters see Mexicans,
Right.
rapists and thugs, they see people of color, all people of color, the same way.
Right.
That's right.
And what makes me so frustrated by his pardon, forget the fact that one of the worst storms that ever hit Texas was happening, and he should have been presidential trying to bring the country together. The fact that he did it unapologetically. This is the same guy, the sheriff,
Right.
who started the birther movement, which is basically saying that Barack Obama was not a U.S. citizen. This was the beginning of racism in our generation, like being, I guess, recharged, right?
Right.
And then this guy, he pardoned him on National Dog Day, in which he this guy burned dogs before. He has a record of burning dogs.
Wow.
He has a record of holding people past their release date. He has a record of just being a flat out racist. And here we are pardoning him. And the same people who praise and think it's okay for Donald Trump to do that were the same ones just a few months ago that were on Barack Obama's chest hairs because he pardoned some low-level drug offenders. That's what's so frustrating about this. And guess what? Those people were people of color.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Low-level drug offenders. I'm not talking about somebody who perhaps beat up women or, shot up somebody, shot up schools. I'm talking about low-level drug offenders.
Somebody who might have moved to Gramercy.
Yeah, but
If
that.
yeah.
So Trump pardoned the man not just for being a racist with the immigration thing, but he also pardoned the man for the Mike Vick thing. Like all that, he only like on Dog Day.
Mike Vick.
Like Mike Vick had to do that time.
He had to do what? 4 years almost.
Right.
Yeah, and then he had to do close to 4 years, and then got blackballed from the NFL for about 3 years.
See that and
That's wild.
wow.
That's
See that and see the reason we started there was because we have to understand the conversation that predated that part, right? Like, okay, first of all, it came after the rally where he hinted that he was going to do it in response to a conversation about whether or not his words solidified white supremacy.
Yeah, especially when.
So his response is to do this.
Well, here's the thing. When you start feeding red meat to dogs, you can't just stop.
you can't just
Right.
stop.
Because the dogs will turn on you.
Right.
No, seriously. I mean,
Yeah.
you're from the country.
Yeah,
You
that's real.
you cannot just stop feeding red meat to dogs. You got to keep feeding them. And his supporters enjoy the red meat right-wing rhetoric. But But what we saw the past couple of days, we've seen all these people defend Donald Trump, and they've gotten down on President Obama, saying that he pardoned Chelsea Manning, I think it is. Well, he did. There's a difference between a pardon and a commute.
Right.
There's a difference.
Commuted sentence. Right?
Yeah, a commute, and I'm gonna read you a definition from the Supreme Court. A pardon wipes out the conviction, while a commute leaves the conviction intact but wipes out the punishment. So there's a difference. Right. So when you see on the talk shows at night these people saying, "Well, Barack Obama pardoned Chelsea Manning," he did not. He commuted. Right. There's a difference. And so we have to deal with facts as facts. Right. That's important. But here's what the crazy president said today when they was asked about his pardon.
Oh boy.
He said he did it on Friday during the hurricane because he knew that would increase ratings.
Wait. Time out. Hold on. That's a Twitter response though. I'm trying to get more retweets.
He said that on Twitter?
No, I'm just saying that's a Twitter type of response. I'm trying to get more retweets.
So no one would think this is the gospel according to Antoine. Read it.
Trump just said he factored in notion that the ratings would be higher if he announced the Sheriff Joe pardon as hurricane barreled in. Wow.
What?
Here's the thing. We're talking about the president of the United States. Now, traditionally, for those who are listening, perhaps do not know how these things go. Traditionally, a president will pardon someone towards the end of their term, first or second. That's just tradition. But if he pardons Sheriff Racist Joe this early in his term, that sets the stage for what could be very tricky and nasty going forward. Because if he did this, knowing what this guy did, knowing the history, knowing the record, this early in his term, imagine what he would do at the end of his term. I mean, that's scary all by itself. But here's a big argument I want people to think about. He did this a week after Charlottesville, 2 weeks after Charlottesville.
Right.
Yeah.
When the country probably were even more divided when a racist white supremacist went and shot up a church in Charleston by the name of Dylan Roof.
Right.
We were probably more divided this time around about Charlottesville than we were then, because at least President Obama, and to her credit, Governor Haley did everything they could to try to bring the country together and the state together. The divider in chief didn't do that.
Well, they addressed it for what it was. It was terrorism.
It was domestic terrorism. And here's the thing: it took him 48 hours or 72 hours to even address it. Then he came back, readdressed it, and then he readdressed it again.
Right. Because he didn't address it right the first time.
Well, here's the thing. I commend the Republican leaders who called it for what it was. It was domestic terrorism. There weren't two sides. The president talked about there were two sides. Right. There weren't two sides. Two sides is what there were in the 50s, 40s, 60s, right? Two sides when we had to fight to get in the same room as people who don't look like us. There were two sides when we couldn't sit at the same table that people who didn't look like. There were two sides when we had to go to different bathrooms.
Right.
That's when there were two sides. There were not two sides. There was only one side, and that was the neo-Nazis, white supremacists, white nationalists rallying and marching in the name of hate. And what happened on that day in Charlottesville was pure old domestic terrorism. A white young man drove from Ohio. His mama said he left the house, David, to said he was going to an event for Trump. So we knew the undertone message of that. And I'm not making this up. All you have to do is go back and look. He took a car and drove it into a crowd, killing somebody. Now, the president refused to call it domestic terrorism yet. In Paris, when the same thing happened, this was the same president who was railing on the mayor of Paris for not calling that radical Islam terrorism. And what happened in Spain? He was beating the horn saying, this is radical Islamic terrorism. We must call it for what it is. Well, this was domestic terrorism. This is what Dylan Roof did in Charleston. It was domestic terrorism. Right. We didn't hear him call it that. And then his response was probably the most devastating when he said it was two sides.
Yeah.
That was just...
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Here's a different. I don't know if it's a different perspective, but this is how it looked to me. All right, because when you say domestic terrorism, you're thinking about. Most of the time, I think about something that goes against that. That's something that's treasonous in a way. Like the country doesn't stand for this thing, and you're doing it, right? Inside of that, and then the thing that you're doing becomes terror. You know what I'm saying? Is a terror act, right? But here's the thing: there's a problem when I look at the Charlottesville thing and think about it in the forms of terrorism. Okay, this is in Charlottesville, Virginia, where the University of Virginia is, but right across the state line in the state of North Carolina, on the Thursday before that Saturday, this happened on a Saturday. On the Thursday before that Saturday, North Carolina passed a law saying that you could not sue a person that ran over a protester with their car in civil court. On the Thursday before the Saturday, right? Okay, and then the march itself was carried out under while being represented legally by the American Civil Liberties Union. So at that point, is it still terrorism, right? Because really it sounds like just institutionalized racism.
Listen, domestic
From
terrorism,
the highest, right?
domestic terrorism defined as the committing of a terrorist act in the perpetrator's own country against their fellow citizens. That one is a white fellow citizen
Right.
committing an act of terrorism against his fellow U.S. citizens. That was domestic terrorism. That happened on U.S. soil.
Right.
And it wasn't because of the Muslim ban.
Right.
Muslim ban couldn't prevent this from happening. Like a Muslim ban couldn't have prevented Dylan Roof from going to church killing 9 people. This was domestic terror. But we have to call it what it is. See, so many people want to skate and dance and do the Tootsie Roll around the issue. But that's not how we move forward. That's not how we heal. We heal when we say, look, that was domestic
That was
terrorism.
wrong. Yeah.
Right? When we call for what it is and we tell people you're going to be punished, and if you continue to do this, there are going to be even greater punishments, because that's how we begin to move forward. Like that's really how we. But first of all, we have to call the march and the organizer for what it is. It was not friendly protesting. It was white nationalists, neo-Nazis rallying in the name of hate. All the things that have divided us for so long. That's what they were doing.
Yeah.
And when David Duke,
Right.
the MVP of racism, when he gives you a cheer and a toe touch, you know you have a problem.
Right. It's being, but I guess here's the thing though: you can't stop it if it's being protected from as high up as it goes. You see what I'm saying? Like in the same situation, you know, it's just becoming a pattern. Like Milo wanted to put a advertisement on the city buses in Washington D.C. Right? A racist advertisement on the city buses in Washington D.C. They decided the same Civil Liberties Union defended him, and you know what I'm saying? Because the city was denying him being able to do it, but they were trying to protect this as calling this free speech. So when we come back, we got to talk about that.
Crazy. That's absolutely crazy. You'd think you'd be able to, you know the difference between what you should and shouldn't legalize if you got real love. Right? This is Real Love by Blanca.
Man, this.
Like, if you really have, like, your mind in the right place and your heart in the right place and you understand, okay, like, there's a certain way as people that we should be conducting ourselves, living, like, and then also especially when you look at things governmentally, like, if people who are actually, if everybody in the government and everybody in the higher ups were like, okay, we actually want to make sure we're bringing our nation together and actually unifying people, like, just the fact that there's laws put in place that make certain things like this okay, you know what I'm saying, just shows how much of a lack of love and a lack of unity there really is in this country. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, it really, I didn't even know that. Like, you just repeated that information. Like, that's crazy.
Well, that's because those kind of laws ain't talked about.
Of course not.
And
that's the problem. Yeah. They're not talked about because we got to sweep that kind of stuff under the rug to make sure it doesn't get noticed.
Well,
until these sort of things happen.
The reason a lot of stuff is not talked about, like, I think we all forget sometimes that this country was built on this idea of oppression. Right. This country was built on the backs of black people who did not want to be here. We were forced to be here. And this country was also built on this notion that there will always be two groups of people, the have and the have-nots. And so when these things happen, the laws and the systems are in place to always protect the haves. And I said this last night on Cynthia Hardy's show. I said, make no mistake about it. You're either at the table or on the menu. And you shouldn't fool yourself otherwise.
Right.
because the people at the table are making decisions about what's on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
So how would they? So let me ask you this: if this is their new slant,
We're back.
we're back.
Oh, yeah, we back.
We're back, by the way.
If it's free speech for them to march around with tiki torches and say Jews will not replace us, you will not replace us. If that's free speech, then what's illegal speech? Is there any kind of illegal speech if that's free?
Black Lives Matter.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
They call Black Lives Matter a terrorist organization.
They call that a terrorist organization.
Immediately.
They call
Immediately.
they call that a terrorist organization because it's the have-nots raising their loud voice called "We the People." They're exercising their right that they've been given under law in this country, but people don't want that. So all of a sudden they're bad people because we march in the name of something that we believe in. But when they march in the name of something they believe in, even though it's wrong, it's okay.
Now, see, here's the struggle. The what messes that whole thing up is like when you look at Black Lives Matter. Yeah, you had unfortunately a lot of people in the name of Black Lives Matter doing some real stupid and ignorant stuff. That's factual. There were unfortunately definitely some groups of black people who decided to, in the name of Black Lives Matter, do some real stupid and ignorant and violent and hateful things. However, just like the, cultural and, historic KKK and rebel flag wielders, you had people doing some real shameful and hateful and stupid and ignorant stuff in the name of the KKK and white supremacy and alt-right movement and stuff like that too, but they weren't called a terrorist movement.
But here's the thing.
You know what I'm saying? They didn't automatically clump the entire alt-right movement or the entire white supremacist movement or the entire KKK as a terrorist movement. That's a Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter formed because we were being wiped out. They formed as a response.
Exactly.
Not as an organization to empower or to spread hate or anything. They're saying, wait a minute, we can't continue to be killed by cops, in this country. We can't We can't continue to be treated unfairly. It would have been so easy. In fact, in retrospect, I'm probably frustrated that President Obama didn't wrap his arms around the Black Lives Matter movement as much as he did, considering you have Donald Trump, who is basically flirting. He started flirting with the white supremacists during the campaign. After he got elected, he started dating them. Now they're in a full-blown relationship. At this point.
And every time something pop up, they get a pass.
Yeah, because listen, you can't break up with the girl that you've been dating for a very long time. You can't break up very easily.
It's difficult.
And when the more love you continue to show her, the more feelings she has for you.
Wow.
And that's what we've seen. But Charlottesville sparked a larger question in this country, David and everybody else. It sparked the question about these monuments. And is it time to turn the page in history? Now I have my feelings. Most people won't agree with me. I believe there are some instances where some of these markers, they need to remain. Because I think future generations need to know how far we've come. But then there's some, I think they have to go. Because, as I said to you all earlier, every generation has a responsibility to do better. So when you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
Right.
We know what some of these people stood for. We knew what the General Lees and some of these people. You don't go to Germany. You don't walk the streets of Germany and see Hitler Boulevard.
Right.
You don't see Hitler Elementary. You don't see Hitler University. You don't. And I think people forget, number one, why this war was started. Number two, we're the only country in the world to celebrate a loss.
Right.
They lost. They lost the Civil War. And so we're celebrating people who lost. We're celebrating the fact that people in this country were murdered, raped, beaten, and everything else under these umbrella of some of these people, and we actually celebrate these people.
It's called the lost cause, man. When they say things like we can't rewrite history today, that throw a dude like me, that throws me fully off because you rewrote history to put up the statue.
Well, nobody's saying rewrite history, but we don't need to celebrate villains either.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. And it's not just like it's one thing to lose, but the purpose of General Lee was to basically that was a treasonous army. They were committing treason against the United States of America. So how does he get a statue? Who else gets a statue? Does Dave Groove get a statue?
Strom Thurmond has a statue. There are a number of statues all around.
For Dixiecrats?
Yeah. But here's the deal. It goes back to what we oftentimes talk about on the show. Elections have consequences.
Right.
Because you and I both know. I'll use South Carolina as an example, since we're here. Our state motto is "While I breathe, I hope." It took 9 people being killed in the church for the Confederate flag to come down. There was no debate since that flag was moved from the dome to the ground. There was no debate in 11, 15 years, whatever the time was,
Right.
about removing the flag. When the governor was asked prior to the incident, she said, no way. It would never happen on her watch. That's on the record. She said that.
Wow.
And truth be told, if Clemente Pinckney was not in that church and not a state senator, I'm not sure that flag would have come down. That's number one.
Right.
Number two, if Gayle King did not press Nikki Haley the day after the incident happened and put those images on the TV with him wrapping himself in the Confederate flag, if she did not press Nikki on saying, is it time for the flag to come down, had that not been a thing, and then the national media piled on, so the political pressure started to build, had that not happened, we would have never got to this point. I'm sad to say that, but that's true.
That's absolutely true.
And so going back to elections have consequences, David.
Yeah.
The Heritage Act in South Carolina was the legislation that put the flag from the dome on the ground.
Yeah.
When the bill was written, it was crafted very smartly by the majority party, which was the Republican parties. It said it takes 3/5 votes of the General Assembly. Well, the Democrats haven't been in control in over 2 decades.
Right.
That's why there's been no discussion. And so because we do not have the majority, or even close to having the majority, there's no discussion about removing any monuments. There's no discussion about moving anything. There's a Confederate flag that sits at the Citadel right now that cannot be touched because of the Heritage Act. Ben Tillman's statue, Ben Pitchfork Tillman's statue, is up at Clemson. At Winthrop, there's a building that none of those things can be touched because of the Heritage Act.
Right.
And so when we think about how do we move our country forward, how do we move our state forward, how do we move our community forward, we can't do that if we don't have legislative power. And we can't get legislative power until we start winning elections. I love the mayor, love him to death. My best friend, love him to death mentor. He called for a statue to be removed from the State House to follow genealogy. Now, most people didn't even know that statue was there. Here's a man who, not the mayor, but the statue. Here's a man who essentially raped women.
Yeah. He ripped women apart.
Yeah, ripped them apart. Well, that statue can't go anywhere because, again, it is locked and binded by the Heritage Act. So we fooling ourselves. We having emotional roller coasters within our own selves thinking we can do something we really can't. The power is literally rests within us, the people.
Right.
And next year, you and I are talking about something there. Every member of the South Carolina House of Representatives will be up for re-election. All 7 members of Congress will be up. All of our state constitutional officers will be up. So we will have a chance to rewrite the history book again, possibly flip some seats, and maybe even get a chance to have some debate. When the question was asked, are we even going to have debate about moving some of these monuments, etc., the Speaker of the House and the leader of the majority leader in the Senate said, no way, we're not even having debate.
Wow.
There was legislation filed last session to say, okay, let cities and let municipalities and local governments decide if they want to change the names of streets, etc., within their jurisdiction. Bill didn't even get a hearing.
You see that that has a lot to do with the fact that, like you say, it's called the Heritage Act, but equality, especially within races, is not part of our heritage. And so when they say, is there going to be a debate? No, because that's not our heritage. Our heritage is the old school separation to make America great again, like it was before civil rights and all this foolishness, right?
But this conversation about the monuments, it's not going anywhere.
I mean, they were protesting it being moved. It's crazy. It's almost the same as the flag situation. In the flag situation, they were talking about moving it to a museum, and people took that as disrespectful. What's wrong with the museum? The same thing with that Robert E. Lee statue was supposed to be moved to a local facility of some kind of exhibit, but from the public place where it was.
Not only are these statues, not only do they represent what they represent, they're government entities. which means taxpayers, you and I, have to pay for the upkeep of these things,
of it, right?
And the monitoring, etc. Stonewall Jackson's great-grandson wrote a letter saying the monuments must go. The great-grandson of Stonewall Jackson wrote a letter, wrote an op-ed piece. It was in on the slate.com saying that all the monuments must go. Because how do we move forward? How do we move forward?
Well, that's the thing too. I mean, obviously, you have to know your history. If you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. And so, having the knowledge of what's happened before is definitely important. But that's the reason why history books, as inaccurate as some of them might be, that's why they are. It is important to have documented history. But maintaining some of these monuments and flags and all this, just the amount of emotion that I guess certain people, that feelings that they have tied to some of these monuments is just crazy to me. Because obviously, yes, this is historical stuff, but when it represents what it represents, why would you really want to hold on to that? Well, that's what I don't.
Because your family's wealth is wrapped up in that.
Well, symbols matter. You can cut this tomato how you want. Symbols matter. They will always matter. If somebody gives you the middle finger, that's a symbol. That draws in the most. That means something.
Right.
That flag is a symbol. It means something, right? If somebody lick their tongue at you, that's a symbol. All these things matter. So we're fooling ourselves to say this represents one thing to us. We're fooling ourselves when we start talking like that. Symbols matter. They mean something. They draw emotional responses out of people, right or wrong. That's the name of the game. So if symbols matter, which we know they do, then shouldn't we be trying to change? We discourage kids from sticking up their middle finger to other people because it's wrong.
Right.
So how can we do that in the same breath and praise or
a symbol
that we know that represents hate? We know that so many people have done so many evil things in the name of or under the umbrella of.
Well, and that's the difficulty. Like, how do we get around that? Because unfortunately, we can only do so much. We can teach, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can teach your kids. When I have kids one day, I can teach my kids, this is what's right, this is what's wrong, this is the line and the difference between this and this, you know what I'm saying? But if you don't know the difference, and you have other people who are going to be teaching their children otherwise, you have people that are going to be teaching their children hate, you know what I'm saying? They're going to teach them the wrong way. We can't necessarily, I guess the question is, how do we affect that?
Well, I mean, every change that you make, you're gonna need to make in response to or in ignorance of.
When we come back, I got a real.
Oh man.
And this is going well so far. I feel like we're really keeping it 100 right now. I appreciate that. This is Been 100 by Nuzzle. Been 100.
Bizzle.
Is that supposed to be Bizzle?
It's supposed to be Bizzle.
That's absolutely Bizzle. Bizzle been 100. Shout out to Bizzle.
Bizzle has been 100.
Who is Bizzle? Bizzle called into a station I was on last night.
Yeah?
Really?
Yeah. Somebody named Bizzle.
Yeah.
Bizzle's dope.
Yeah, Bizzle a dope dude. Yeah, man.
I called into Cynthia's show last night. Bizzle went in.
That's what it is.
That's dope. Shout out to Bizzle.
Shout out to Bizzle.
Yeah, that man can freestyle.
He been talking some real stuff. Well, since he came out, he been talking real.
Oh, matter of fact, Lawrence Gray said he plans on being a legislative aide. I think whatever the entry level is to support a candidate. Where should he direct his energies?
Oh, you should ask him his political preference.
Lawrence, what is your political preference here? He's 'cause basically he's responding to our conversation, saying, "Wow, being political is big. I plan on being a legislative aide. I think whatever the entry level is to support a candidate." I think he's going to try to find a candidate that matches his interests as he should.
I think Ebony's giving us direction.
Okay. And we're back. Thank you, Eb. Shouts out to Ebony. That baby jumper on the switch.
She's directing traffic.
Hey, Ebony.
He said, Lawrence said he doesn't know the candidate yet. He just wants to know.
But Dave, let me give you a thought to consider. I said a few minutes ago that then candidate Trump was flirting with the neo-Nazis, the white supremacists.
Right.
If you all remember some of the images at some of his rallies, there were people waving Confederate flags.
Right.
They had Confederate flag hats. Now, granted, we can't stop people from wearing what they want to wear and all that.
Right.
But imagine if that would have been Barack Obama's rally or Hillary Clinton rally,
And everybody had on Zulu Nation.
yeah, or BLM.
Oh, you had a bunch of Muslims.
Yeah.
Boy, he would have been ran out of. He would have been
Not
ran
to
out
mention,
of
not to mention that during the course of the campaign, this man called Mexicans rapists and thugs. He went to all white communities and said to white people, "What in the hell do black people have to lose by voting for me?"
Right.
Not to mention,
That was crazy.
it took so much for him. He didn't even back down on his comments about Barack Obama not being a U.S. citizen. I mean, he had a press conference talking about his hotel in D.C. You remember that? Everybody was anticipating him walking back the comments. He didn't. Jeff Sessions. I mean, all the things. And so he flirted with them during the campaign. And now here we are. And people are so shocked and surprised. And then he doubled down on his comments. And I don't feel bad. And no disrespect to anybody listening. I partly don't feel bad because you get what you vote for. Right? And for the 13% of African American men who voted for Mr. Trump in this last election, what you voted for. You shouldn't be surprised. Don't come in the barbershop now talking about what we gonna do. We had a chance to do something in November 2016. Nobody took it seriously, right? Nobody took it seriously. And for the people who didn't vote, talking about, oh, I'm a Bernie person, I don't know, I can't trust Hillary, her emails. I don't hear not one person walking down the street talking about Hillary's emails at this point. They all scared pissless. We've had this conversation. We had this conversation on your show, David, when you were in the old studio.
Yeah.
And you and I got into a little confrontation about the 94 crime bill.
That's it, yeah.
I don't hear anybody talking about the 94 crime bill now. I guarantee you. Remember that? Everybody. You had a few people call on the line talking about, oh, I don't know. It was the 94 crime bill. Nobody's giving a flying frick about the 94 crime bill now. You know why? Because one of the things that Sessions have done under the guidance of Trump is put back in place mandatory sentencing.
Right.
Today, I think it was, or at least it's coming up this week, he's going to reverse a policy that President Obama put in place that would ban local law enforcement from using military force in the streets. Well, he's going to reverse that. There was an article on The Hill that I tweeted last night. He's going to reverse that policy. You remember that was put in place because of Ferguson and because of Baltimore?
Right.
And we knew what that was about? You didn't see in Charlottesville, you didn't see them bringing the National Guard and armored trucks and none of that stuff.
They ain't shut the city down.
But they did that in Ferguson.
Yeah.
They did that in Charlotte. They did that in Baltimore. They did those things. And so that's what makes me so frustrated about this process. We had the opportunity. We had the most qualified, and I don't want to rehash the election, but we had the most qualified person to ever run for the office, quote Lindsey Graham, a Republican from South Carolina, versus the most unqualified person to ever even think about running for the office.
Right.
And the most unqualified person ran to the tune and to the beat and Tootsie rolled down the street to the beat of white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and white nationalists. And we're surprised when he does not denounce racism and everything else that happened in Charlottesville. We're surprised when he pardons a sheriff the same day that a hurricane is battling through Texas. And people were actually surprised that he said today he knew that the ratings would be high. Why are y'all surprised? Look what he's done since he's been in his office. He's continued to lie to the American people. He's appointed these right-wing nut jobs to these appointees. He's destroying our court system by some of his appointees he put in place. He's reversing policies and things that Barack Obama put in place to actually move our country forward and to at least bring people of color up to speed.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're not running the same race, but at least we're trying to get up to speed. At least that's what we're trying to do. And now we take 10 steps forward and 23 steps backwards.
Isn't that our reckoning, though? Because we found... was this election honesty? Is that what happened?
No, this election...
Were we honest this time? Is that what happened as America?
This election was what I told you it was on this show on more than one occasion. The most consequential election of our lifetime. Not because it was about Trump or Hillary. And I said this. I said, number one is because I knew he's going to have to appoint to that Supreme Court, right? He could have to appoint again to the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. But I knew that this election was solely about protecting the legacy of the first African-American president. It's good we voted for him twice. That's all great. But it's one thing to vote for him twice and he does things to move our country forward. but we sit home or go opposite way in the next election, and the next person come in and reverse everything that has been done. I've heard not once President Trump talk about doing things for historical black colleges and universities. I have yet to hear him talk about addressing Flint, Michigan water crisis. I have yet to hear him talk about unemployment rate in communities of color. I have yet to hear him talk about how law enforcement statistically lock up black and brown people at higher rates. In fact, what did he say to the police union when he spoke to them a couple months ago? Be rougher with people in custody. That's what he said to him.
Wasn't that like a few weeks?
Yeah, a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Say don't be too nice to him. I see you holding their head and letting them in the car. Nah, let them bump their head a little
Not
bit
to
on that
mention
car.
he's put together this commission, this voter commission that's essentially going to look at how do we suppress more votes for minorities, because that's what this is about.
Mm-hmm.
And so all these things are happening while some of us are still asleep at the switch, and we whipping and nay-naying and doing our thing. But man, like, our country is literally falling apart. And I said this on a TV show last week. America is being tested in ways that she has never been tested before. Mm-hmm. And I say in ways because there'll be some older people who will say, you're only 32 years old, you don't know what we've been through. I don't. I didn't live through the civil rights movement. Mm-hmm. But I don't think America has had a leader like Trump before in a time in which we've come before.
Right.
We haven't been in this space. We haven't been in this space before.
Yeah.
So this is a different space. So we're being, America, as young as she is, and as she continues to take her steps on the journey towards a more perfect union, is being tested like she's never been tested before. But we, the people, still have a role and responsibility in this.
Right.
We still have a voice. We still have the power to really move things. When we make our voices heard, i.e. when we pick up the phone and call, email, and march and rally, dangerous laws like the healthcare proposed law that was proposed a couple months ago won't be enacted, won't be implemented. When we stick together, we the people, when we do what we're supposed to do. But we have to do that on everything. This is an ongoing thing. This is a 24-hour battle that we're going through. It's a battle.
Right.
You know what's crazy is I actually I heard someone say one time that things have always been this bad, and I was just like, what exactly do you mean? They're like, well, I mean all the violence and all this, separation and everything and division that's going on in the country, like things have always been this bad. And I was just like, no, it has not. Don't get me wrong. I don't know anything personally that happened before 1991 because I wasn't born until then. But I can look at what history has shown from what I've seen on history books, what I've seen in historic videos and stuff, and what I'm looking at now on mainstream news, Twitter, and Instagram, and I can tell you things have never been this bad, and especially because of the fact that now we're in a time and place where racism should have been done away with because of the fact that segregation was, done away with, so to speak, because integration happened, because black and white people and people of color can all be in the same area legally and not have we shouldn't have all these issues going on. Being that we're in a time and place now where diversity is so immense and so important, you think that we wouldn't have these issues, but because of the fact that in this diverse time we are having the issues that we're having, no, there's no way things have ever been this bad.
Here's a couple of things to remember, and I don't want to discredit anybody who may have lived through or gone through the civil rights movement.
No, not at all.
But today, many years ago, Dr. Martin Luther King spoke at the March on Washington, which was the march and a rally cry for economic freedom and justice. Here we are in a studio in Columbia, South Carolina, still talking about very similar to what Dr. King talked about.
Right.
Emmett Till on this day in history was kidnapped by two white men at 14 years old because he whistled and quote unquote flirted with a lady in her grocery store in Mississippi, who she later lied. 2 weeks ago in Charlottesville, someone drove a car into a crowd of people and killed people. there have been cases of lynching still going on in 2017. So I don't want to discredit anything that has happened in our history, right?
Not at all.
But all I'm saying is, are we seriously having some of these same conversations now? Here's the difference between then and now. The country is getting more brown.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying with black people, but with Hispanics and Asians with an influx. And because of that, you have a group of people of the lighter hue who, that makes them nervous.
Yeah.
Because they eventually will lose their power and influence in their numbers. And I fundamentally believe that is why Donald Trump became president, because they came out in large numbers. The white man voted in blocks like they never voted for. They voted more for Trump than they did McCain and Romney. That's no coincidence. That is no coincidence. So people of color should not be sleep at the switch or take this thing for granted, the space we're in, because just like we've made all this progress, as we can tell, within the stroke of a pen, that progress can be taken away from us.
Absolutely.
Right.
We have a education secretary, we've talked about her on this show, who literally are trying to take us back, in my opinion, to the place of segregated schools. Now, tell me what that would do. Nelson Mandela called education a great equalizer.
Mm-hmm.
If we take that away, then where do you think that's going to put us? Where do you think, as I opened up the show, I said this country was built on this idea that there will always be the have and the have-nots.
That's right.
If we were made to be in the have-not category, and there are people trying to take us even deeper into the have-not category, where do you think your grandkids going to be, David, in about 30 years, 40 years?
Oh yeah, definitely. In the have-not school, some kind of way.
We're going to be screwed so tight
all the way
to the board that we won't even be able to look up to even see how to find our way out. And we're slipping and falling, man. Like, we are slipping and falling. We made some tremendous strides, and I don't want to take away any progress, but we are slipping and falling through the cracks.
Well, we got comfortable. You know what I'm saying? I think we got comfortable. We got really, really comfortable. We got hype about the fact, it happened. We felt like we had crossed over. You know what I'm saying?
Some got complacent, others got content.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be content, but you can never become complacent, because there are people. Because in 2017, we still have to fight to make sure that Apple and some of the major corporations in the world have a black board member.
Absolutely.
Right.
We're still fighting for that. There are still places in the United States that never elected a black mayor or a black senator or a black governor. South Carolina has never had a black governor. That's still a thing. So we shouldn't fool ourselves that we've made all this progress, because when you peel back the onion a little bit, it'll hurt your eyes, because the progress that we think we made, it really ain't there.
We'll be back.
Been a long time coming. Made a little bit of progress. We've been waiting to make some greater strides. One day we'll get there.
How are we gonna close this thing?
This song is called "You Waited" by Travis Green.
Oh, that's my song. How are we closing this out? Yeah.
Man, we gotta
We're getting kind of deep. I'm getting a little emotional, so I gotta go back the other way.
Yeah. Oh no, we
It's so frustrating, man. I'm just I
mean, truthfully, we're about to get back into there's a couple of really good questions here online. We're gonna address those, and then we're gonna make sure we promo that show that's coming, and then but for real, we matter of fact, I'm trying to find the. There's a lot of charity places. I mean, by the way, Facebook family, there's places you can donate. I think if you text Harvey to, can't remember the number.
Red
that's
Cross.
For the American Red Cross.
Oh yeah.
When we come back, I really want to talk about Texas.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We were talking about that earlier. He tweeted that out of a couple.
Yeah, it was like 3 of them I saw this morning. Places you can donate. One of them was by the mayor. The mayor came up with some initiative.
Yeah, the Texas Diaper Bank is in need of diapers. President Obama, thank God for his leadership and his sanity, has tweeted from his foundation account, not him, but his staff has tweeted from the foundation account, a number of charities, legit charities, because there are scammers out there, but these but legit charities in which you can donate, get your tax deduction and all that to help people.
We're back, y'all.
That's real stuff. I think that as believers, and I think all of us in this room are believers, we believe in a being, let me say that. I think we have an obligation to do that. Matthew 25:40, I think it is, says, "As much as you've done it to the least of these, you've done it to me."
That's right.
And I remember it was just a couple years ago, right here in South Carolina, in which we had our own crisis, and floods, and even last year we had another situation, and that Texas could easily be the Palmetto State.
Absolutely.
And when we were going through our crisis, I remember unloading trucks of water and canned goods from Texas.
Right.
And so I'm doing everything I can, and most importantly, praying. But I'm doing all the extra stuff I can, encouraging people to donate. I've donated and will continue to donate as much as I can because I think it's important.
Absolutely.
Because that if you look at Houston, most of those people in that city look like me and you. Don't make no mistake about it.
Oh, yeah.
Make no mistake about it.
I tell you what's another thing about Houston is I think 2 or 3 of the largest churches in America are down there, right? Lakewood's down there.
Lakewood and
Potter House.
Both of them are flooded, I think.
And I read a nasty article, and I don't know if it's true or not because we live in an era of fake news, but that Joe Osteen Church closed the doors.
It's not true.
Okay.
His church is actually in the middle of the city and it's flooded right now.
Okay.
And a lot of people who are members and staff of his church. I'm not a Joel Osteen fan, but I'm not going to let nobody bash the man about that. No,
I don't hate on no preacher.
He's not turning anybody away. He's actually they got a real situation down there right now.
But you know what this flood has taught all of us and all these natural disasters. One, climate change is real, regardless of what the president says. But 2, that all of our situations can change just like that.
Just like that.
Just like that.
You go from have to have now. There's some multi-million-dollar mansions that are going to be
those
condemned.
$1 million people who had the Lamborghinis and Escalades and all that, they're in the same boat as the people who were living in the projects.
Right.
Somebody's shelter or waiting on somebody to come rescue. And for those people who decree and declare, I wish your man was here tonight, who talked about limited government and all that.
Oh, boy.
I wish he was here tonight to be the show.
Boy.
Because it is the government, federal government, state government, etc., that's going to bail a lot of these families and people out right now.
Right.
When you see the military and the National Guard and all those people, and when they go in there to rescue people, a lot of these people are government. The money that's going to be voted on, the cleanup package, disaster package, that's government. So when you hear people, doing toe touches and, roaring their voices about we don't need government, that's the biggest loaf of meatloaf I've ever seen, because those same people are going to be stroking and calling their elected officials saying, I need help.
Exactly. Exactly. That and also another lesson not to be missed every time there's a natural disaster. I like to be that this is a reminder about the importance of insurance.
Yep.
Because while right now everybody's in the same spot, just like and there was a time everybody was in the same spot, the 100-year flood in Colombia. Yeah. 2 years later, you found out who had insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, there's still people who have not been made whole from the 1,000-year flood we had.
Right.
And it's going to be a very long time in Texas, and that's why this is not just a one-shot in the arm thing. This is going to have to be an ongoing effort. And I think the President Obama said it best when he said we're in this thing together.
And I would say the severity of it is, the thing is, this storm is coming back. It's going up and coming back.
Yeah.
So they're not done. They're not done. So we need to get behind whatever initiative right now to support and help these people, because it's about to go to Louisiana next. Yeah. And we all know Louisiana can't take too many storms.
Yeah, they just rebuilt, and that.
But here's what I know. God is still in control.
Absolutely. God is absolutely in control.
Absolutely. And just like He allowed the hurricane to happen, He can allow it to stop.
Mm-hmm.
That's real.
Tell it to stop.
That's real. But we need to learn the lessons while He's doing this.
Perhaps. I said a few minutes ago, our country's being tested in ways we've never been tested before. Maybe that's God reminding us and the president that you may be elected leader of the free world, but I am the creator of the world.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's real. It's real. And don't think
that
hurricane can't come to D.C.
Yeah, you can say and do what you want to do, but I can also do my thing too.
Mm-hmm. That's real.
Yeah.
I mean, make sure everybody knows. First of all, before we get to that, just make sure that just to really hammer this home. If you ever, last time you've been to a swimming pool, if you look down at 3 feet of water and you felt some kind of way about putting your feet in it, just think about the fact that there's 4 feet of flooding in Houston right now, and use that to give you a little extra incentive to find a way to help.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can say, yeah, it's tough out here, man. You know, all this. Yeah, I understand that. But that's 4 feet of water.
Running water.
Moving. Mm-hmm. And there's old people in retirement homes. You know, if your grandmother's in a retirement home right now, my grandmother's in an assisted living home right now. Right now, there are some people stranded and stuck, and you got some being rescued and some not. Find a way to help.
Yeah.
Find a way to help. Understand what 48 inches of water looks like, and that shouldn't be around you constantly and moving.
Not to mention all the bacteria,
right?
All that stuff that is being just pushed along with the water, and the animals who are using the bathroom in the water as they are fighting for survival too.
Sewage coming up.
I mean, all those things that. I mean, it's a lot, man.
Stuff you don't think about.
You've got something. You have something. You can. I understand, but you have, like you said, we like President Obama and Antoine C. Wright just said, we are in this thing together. Find something. Do something.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Your $10 matters.
It's going to be a lot. I mean, you know, don't buy 2 packs of cigarettes this week.
Yeah.
You know,
go. Yeah, go. Yeah, text Harvey to whatever number. That's $10 to the American Red Cross. There's other places you can donate to. There's
Take
other
a day
links.
off from Starbucks. You know.
Yeah.
Don't get the Big Mac. You know, whatever it is.
Yeah, there's absolutely
don't
something.
go buy the blunt. You know what I mean? Do something. You know what
I'm telling you, please don't buy the blunt. Sheesh.
Don't purchase the loud.
Yeah.
Don't purchase the loud.
Just remember,
don't get the shot at the bar.
Just remember, you can be in this same boat.
Yeah, this could be you next time.
But what this also will do, in a real way, it will highlight some of the deficiencies in the administration and the vacancies at the undersecretaries at some of these key roles that this.
Tell me about the FEMA director.
Yeah, you were just telling about
I misspoke. I gave you an alternative fact. They do have a FEMA director who has been confirmed by the U.S. Senate. It's his undersecretaries. He does not have all of his undersecretaries.
He doesn't have a full staff.
Right.
But he got a full capacity.
A lot of
going
agencies are not fully staffed, and when these things happen, the light gets turned on in the closet.
Wow.
And the thing about it, in D.C., there was 8 years of Obama people, right? And so that's the people you got to pull on and depend on in order to get some sort of draw on some expertise when these things happen. And so I just pray and hope that, politics aside, that the Trump folks will reach out to Obama folks and figure out how can they work together.
Man,
because this is bigger than the president.
Yeah.
This is literally bigger than the president.
We can't blame natural disasters on them, but we can
blame response. I.e. Bush.
Yeah.
Shouts out to Kanye.
Most definitely.
That was weird.
So yeah, keep that in mind and make sure to find those places to donate. Matter of fact, we're gonna make it our business. Darren, hey. Social media guy Darren.
Hey, Darren.
We'll make sure that we have links and things where people need to donate to Hurricane Harvey. I know the Walk Ons is already doing some of that, right, Marcus? Marcus Walker's in the studio with us today too. So check out any of our shows because this is what this is really for.
And Urban City will be getting the information out.
Yeah, we will all be making sure that you have a plethora of reliable places to send money.
David, I know we're coming to the end, but for everybody who's listening at home, this is why media is so important.
Yeah.
Don't let nobody fool you that CNN, MSNBC, and all these people, this fake news, because it's not. Freethinkers is not fake news.
Right.
These are not. This is how you disseminate information. This is how we figure out what is what. This is how we figure out how to help our brothers and sisters who are in need.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's not fake news. When someone calls a person's BS, excuse my language, that's not fake news. Right? They did it for President Obama. Fox News did it every single day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Breitbart and the rest of these people. And the only thing people are doing is holding the highest office in the land accountable and calling him out when he mess up. And when he does something right, give him praise.
Yeah.
But when he doesn't get it right, the only way he will be able to grow and do better is by calling out.
Absolutely. And if you want to hear even more of the calling out and more information from an insider, a person who's, in the game, inside, information.
We about to do big.
Yeah, you might want to get ready to subscribe to the Antoine Seawright podcast coming soon here. Soon here. Stay tuned. We gonna let y'all know when it went well, and
we gonna do it big.
Absolutely. This but that should be coming
soon.
Coming very soon. Coming very soon. We want to definitely thank you for joining us, man.
It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you fine people every chance I get. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It's a good thing when you can have a conversation.
Yeah, that's for real. Now I want to echo before we get out of here, Devlon Harling, who said, "I pray the nation will take their voting rights more seriously in 2020 and 2018, sir, and seriously listen to what all these candidates are saying."
If you live here in Columbia,
you ain't lying. 2017, right?
Did a year.
Sheesh. Yeah, take your voting, take your right to vote very seriously. It's not just about who do I think is gonna win. This is not Floyd and Connor, right? This is real life. Right? This is not Floyd and Connor. This is real life. I know some people thought Floyd was gonna pull a Trump.
Well, the way I saw
just because you've never done this before does not mean you're gonna win.
It was Barack versus Trump. That's the way I saw the fight.
And on that note.
Well, this has been show 70. Catch us next week. Every week we'll be back. We'll be back for another episode. But that'll be show 71 because this was show 70, man. That's pretty big.
Yo. And they're still running.
And you still running it up.
Praise God.
Absolutely. This has been what was the name of the show? Nazis. Pardon the Nazis.
Pardon the Nazis.
Absolutely.
AKA pardon my swastika.
Stay woke.
We just did what we do.
Facebook, we out.
We out, man. Peace.
Pardon my swastika, though.
Right.
Oh boy.
Yeah, man.
It's sad.